like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque. Looking through the crystal ball, can you picture this?
Ciao and welcome to Gio's Paintbrush, where 5 minutes is all it takes to be blown away by one of the world's greatest artists. Louis Sullivan, whom some call the first truly modern architect, argued famously, "Form ever follows function." With the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 presented unprecedented opportunities for young architects, Sullivan left his native Massachusetts and moved to Chicago, where he pursued an original architecture featuring building facades and external details that reflected the purpose of the structure on the inside, as well as forms and shapes commonly found in the natural world. This was in sharp contrast to the long-standing tradition of replicating previous, often classical shapes, forms, and lines on the outside of a structure, even if the function of the building on the inside was entirely modern. Sullivan's impact was far-reaching, with his pupil, Frank Lloyd Wright, pursuing a prairie style that broke down almost completely the barrier between human shelter and nature itself. With that bold declaration that form follows function, Sullivan launched an age in which public and private structures, interior design, the decorative arts, and even the modern world's means of transport were conceived and created with their utilitarian purpose foremost in mind, guiding the artist toward a unique and groundbreaking form that sought to achieve harmony with its function and at the same time with nature. This unity of form and function in the modern world grew out of Sullivan's remarkable genius and clear vision. However, it was also rooted in the realities of life in an industrialized, urbanized, densely populated world where new man-made materials were available in abundance, where people longed to reclaim some connection with nature, and where engineers were challenged to find creative solutions to new problems, such as the need for increased mobility in order for people to function in new and modern economies. In today's show, the 45th in the Gio's Paintbrush series, we'll consider an amazing engineering and creative achievement of 20th century Italy that grew out of the rubble, the surplus of the Second World War, and that epitomized, and still does, Sullivan's maxim that form ever follows function. Enrico Piaggio's Vespa, the world's first gas-powered motor scooter. I give you the Scoot as sculpture. Thanks for joining us. Like so many beautiful and enduring creations of human imagination and ingenuity, ancient Greek temples, the Pantheon, the village of Hallstatt, Austria, Ponte Vecchio, the simple Irish fisherman's cottage, Gaudi's Casa Mila, Trafalgar Square, Palazzo Ducali, Brunelleschi's Dome, Palacio Reale, Hyde Park, and even Chicago's own Pritzker Pavilion. The Vespa was developed, first and foremost, to fulfill an important cultural purpose for a particular society. With the Allies' defeat of the fascists in World War II, Italy, while free at last from the tyranny of Mussolini and the terror of occupation by Nazi Germany, was faced with a daunting task: rebuilding its infrastructure and economy and political system, in short, in recreating a life for its people. Now, Italians have always known how to design, engineer, and build, and while this might take some time, this diverse, multicultural group of people we generically call Italian, stretching from Sicily in the far south north to the Alto Adige, they would repair, restore, and rebuild rather quickly. And as for political stability, well, Italy is a modern nation that has experienced over a 2,000-year history republicanism, empire and world dominance, chaotic sacking, looting, and marauding, civil war, foreign occupation, revolution, fascism, modern nationhood, poverty, glory, corruption, and periods of intense creativity that defined the Western world we know today. They have seen it all, done it all, and know how to carry on, usually by focusing on what matters most, the things that cannot be taken from them, like love, family, imagination, food, wine, history, and the land itself. And so it was with the Piaggio brothers after World War II, faced with trying to rejuvenate the family's successful manufacturing business, which had most recently produced warplanes, amidst the rubble and chaos, the ruins left behind by the fascists, the Nazis, and the Allies pursuing them. Enrico Piaggio was responsible for trying to get the family plants in Tuscany at Pisa and Pontedera up and running somehow. Surveying the scene, including what parts were available to him, Piaggio decided that he had what was necessary to develop a new vehicle to help the Italian people gain greater personal mobility at an affordable price, and that the Italian people, faced with rebuilding their lives, would value and appreciate this new freedom of movement for both practical and spiritual reasons. They could connect with one another better than ever before, seek employment further from their homes as well, and the feeling of liberation such a means of transport would provide might offer a sense of power, of control, they had lacked for some time. But Enrico knew that motorcycles were dirty, dangerous, and hard to repair quickly and easily. They simply would not appeal to the Italian family. And so he asked Corradino di Ascanio, an inventor and engineer, to create something new. Based on a military motorcycle for paratroopers, di Ascanio altered the vehicle by imagining a man sitting comfortably in a chair, and then constructing the vehicle around him. He added a small wall in the front of the bike to keep the rider clean, even in foul weather, and employed aircraft technology, using an arm to attach the front wheel rather than a fork, making tire changing a snap. Eliminating the chain meant a clean ride and less complicated mechanics. Enrico took one look at the design in April of '46, and according to the firm uttered, "Sembra una Vespa," or "it looks like a wasp." Vespa, of course, is the Italian word for wasp. And when you look at the Vespa, or any Piaggio-made scoot, I drive a Piaggio Fly, you can see Enrico's point. The front of the vehicle resembles the facade of a wasp. It possesses a slim waist and a wide middle where the seat is. There is a clear resemblance. And there's a unity to the form and function of the Vespa, of which Sullivan would be proud. A wasp moves about quickly, in dart-like fashion, from one space to the next, in and out of even small spaces, and in comparison with larger motor vehicles, the Vespa does the same. With the faith of an artist whose creative vision is so clear, whatever societal doubts or hurdles exist, Piaggio filed a patent on the Vespa on April 23, 1946, and ordered 2,000 98cc scooters into production, despite lukewarm feedback on the prototype. Production grew in 1947 to over 10,000, nearly 20,000 in 1948, and a whopping 171,000 just 5 years later, in 1953, with over 10,000 service points worldwide. In June of '56, the 1 millionth Vespa was produced. Amazingly, by 1965, the year in which Enrico Piaggio died, more than 3.3 million Vespas had been produced in Italy alone. According to the company, this meant one Vespa produced for every 50 Italians. To date, more than 16 million Vespas have been produced, with world-famous stars like Gregory Peck, Audrey Hepburn, John Wayne, Charlton Heston, Joan Collins, Gary Cooper, Henry Fonda, Raquel Welch, Sting, Matt Damon, and Jude Law appearing with Vespas in their films or on the streets of their towns. Despite some tough times in the '80s, today the Vespa seems to be making a comeback outside of Italy, with increased market shares in Asia and an emphasis on motor vehicles that consume less gasoline. My Piaggio gets about 115 miles per gallon, for instance. But is the scoot a sculpture? By my definition of art, something conceived and made intentionally by human hands that offers both beauty and either an intellectual or spiritual reward for those who experience it, it is. The Vespa possesses a form rooted in nature and familiar to us all. It played an important role in Italian history, liberating the Italian people from the rubble of World War II and the financial constraints that kept them sedentary. To me, the Vespa is a quintessentially Italian creation, something beautiful made with uncanny imagination and vision amid chaos and destruction. And it's an essentially modern work of art, offering a form rooted in its primary function, its purpose, and made of materials from an industrial age, sort of the ultimate found object sculpture, engendering beauty and freedom and power, and a lasting relevance from the cast-off materials of war, itself full of interesting sociological implications, as well as insights into the very human need to create, to endure, to carry on, to enlarge one's world, one's perspective, to explore what's beyond the hill you've been looking at all your life. And as anyone who's ever ridden a Vespa can tell you, there's an absolutely thrilling sense of liberation, of controlling one's own destiny, a flying through the air in more than just a physical sense that can overcome you at times. I think Enrico Piaggio sensed this. There's something mysterious about this one-of-a-kind creation of Diescanio and Piaggio that allows us to recapture the exhilaration we all must have experienced, maybe upon walking for the first time, of moving through space under our own power, with no protection around us, choosing our own direction, turning quickly at will, maneuvering according to our own desires, free from the small little world we once inhabited that was defined only by the length of our reach. The Vespa, engineering achievement, economic miracle, sociological phenomenon, movie star, rock star, found object sculpture, and performance art all rolled into one. Leave it to the Italians, in the worst of circumstances, to create something lasting out of almost nothing. To paraphrase Luigi Barzini from his wonderful book The Italians in 1964, when it comes to revolting against destiny or facing life's injustices, the Italians wield one of the few weapons available to a desperate and brave people, their imaginations. Grazie mille e ciao.
I can picture it like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque, looking through the crystal ball.